There are two ways to look at it. One is very basic, the technology itself, the specification. There's a new radio interface and a new whole radio access system that's being defined, and that's referred to as the 5G radio technology. But that's a very narrow way to look at it. The way we look at it is 5G is really the next transition in the way information is connected. Data flows through the system. If we go back, 2G was all about voice and connecting people with voice. 3G was about adding data to voice and sort of interacting with data. And 4G was about making the internet mobile. And now it's about 5G is really about expanding data connectivity beyond people and connecting everything to everything else. So it's really more that sort of transition to connecting data more broadly. When we think about 5G, that's really what people should have in mind more than the barebone technology, which of course is important, but ultimately what's going to change in society and people's lives or business lives is going to be the implication of connecting everything, and the 5G transition and associated technology is actually enabling that to happen. Better experience throughout the network, meaning at the edge of the cell, in building, and so on and so forth, especially when you put 5G in the lower part of the spectrum. It also means lower latency, which means certain type of services or use cases such as gaming, for example, or virtual reality will be actually reaching a threshold where it becomes enjoyable in a mobile environment. 5G as a system will enable stronger security and better reliability as well. Healthcare, like pretty much everything else, is again about being able to access the data reliably in case of health and securely because it's private, wherever the data is. So having a very dense sensor capability, being able to get that data to high processing capability in the cloud, make sense of it with whatever intelligence can be sort of extracted from it, and then ultimately actuating it to wherever it is. So in case of health, change the dose of medicine or the parameters of whatever device is on the body. So I think that's where you see it has to be super reliable because you don't want to mess up with that. It has to be super secure because you don't want anyone to interfere with it. And it has to be dependable, meaning the connectivity needs to be there and coverage needs to be super strong. On 5G, you've heard a lot of grandiose statements. And again, we start to have the proof point in terms of, like, we've announced interoperability activity with all the major infrastructure vendors. We've announced concrete product roadmap publicly, and we're actually executing on it. I think you'll hear pretty soon some concrete data points on the fact that we are actually executing on the things we've announced. So I think also importantly, if you look at what's happening in the standardization, I think at some point we had stated that we believed 5G could be accelerated in terms of specification. I think with obviously working with the whole ecosystem and partnering with our usual partners, we made that happen. And I think 3GPP is on track to release an early specification for 5G in December. So I think we're looking at all the elements of the ecosystem, and there's a lot that needs to happen between core R&D, standardization, product commitment, interoperability with infrastructure vendor, field trials, and then launch of products. And we're well on our way to make all of these things happen. I think it's going to be pretty amazing what it does. And I think we had some statements that 5G will be as impactful as electricity. I actually wrote a piece expanding a little bit on that, in the sense that it will be another revolution in the way business operates. if you go back, once things could be electrified in the second wave of industrial revolution, it kind of changed everything. And I think the same thing will happen once we can access the data wherever it is. We can sense and know whatever is happening in an industrial environment, for example. I think the ability to optimize the process and to extract more value out of it will be changed in very meaningful ways. So I think it'll be another industrial revolution or business revolution altogether. One thing I didn't say up to now is I think 5G starts with 4G. And the reason I'm saying that is to be able to deliver on the promise of 5G, which means mission critical, low latency, propagation to the whole sort of business ecosystem, there's a few preconditions. One is obviously there needs to be a network, there needs to be very good coverage, there needs to be a dense network of base stations, so densification. And these things are happening in India today through 4G LTE, LTE Advanced, LTE Pro. And so I think in a way 5G is already starting today, including in India. And once you have that sort of base established, the transition to 5G is essentially an expansion and a amplification of what will have started already with 4G. I guess if we could predict it all, I think it wouldn't be fun. I think the part that's fun with being in the cellular business is we put the technology in the hands of people, of businesses, of startups, and they go and invent and create on top of that. So we really don't know what the 5G world will look like, but what we know is it will be all about accessing the data, making sense of it, and then updating the behavior of things, whatever it is, car, medical devices, agricultural process, industrial processes. That's what it will be about. Exactly how it will shape up, it's left in the hands of those who are managing those businesses.